So we'll get started. I, I may also ask Tobias to teach me Kung Fu. Also, in the gentle way, in the gentle way that he does. Uh, so let's get started. It's great to have all of you here as we close out the first month of the year. As we begin, I want to mention that we've received your feedback about how much you appreciate hearing from a variety of voices on the All Hands call. So we've invited several different team members to speak today. Thank you for that. Please continue sharing feedback. And on today's call, we're going to check into our strategy to ground the conversation first, and then we'll review our high-level goals for the next year and beyond. We'll also hear from colleagues in Uganda who'll share more on exciting updates on the Educate experience model and product. We'll then see how the cultural tenet, always learning, is playing out in practice. And then we'll close with an ask Boris. Anything? Please remember to keep your microphone muted. If not, we'll mute for you. And please feel free to share reflections in the chat. We've got a full house. We've got 112 people here at least, 122 people here at least, because Emma's with 8 others. So great to be here with all of you. So let me ask Maggie Appleton, our Chief Operating Officer, to jump in and share more around the strategy underlying our products and 3-year growth plan.
Great. Thank you, Boris. Happy New Year, everyone. It's still January. I think we could say it even in April. I'll say it to you again when I see you in person. Yeah, so to kick us off, I want to ground our strategic plan for this year in the organizational strategy, which is ultimately rooted in the challenge and the opportunity that we're presented with, which is that by 2035, Africa is projected to add more people to the workforce than the rest of the world combined, which is 10 million youth entering the labor market each year, which is just an astounding number of people. So our purpose centers on that fact, that we believe it's more important than ever to prepare youth with the skills they need to succeed in today's economy and to build their livelihoods. This feeds into our long-term vision, which is to design solutions that measurably impact millions of youth across Africa each year. So I know that we've all heard this tagline before. We've all heard our purpose. Most of us have seen this slide. And I think before we go for the rest of the presentation, what's important for me when we hear such big numbers, we're talking about 10 million or millions, right, is to actually think about the individuals that we all know personally. The ones that we've met in schools or in communities who've gone through an Educate program, and you've seen that change yourself. You can see that they're hopeful. You can see they have this energy. You can hear their ideas, right? The youth that we've met who have kind of emerged from that experience on a new path. And so, you know, like for me, when I think about 10 million, it feels almost too big to grasp. When I think about like the young woman who started a business and can pay her siblings school fees, or the young man that was able to now go to veterinarian school and has a whole career that he never would have had if he hadn't gone through the Educate program. And I think that like, before we kind of talk about all our plans and strategies, it's just an important opportunity to just remember like all the youth that we've met, where their energy is so infectious. They're so excited. They're so ambitious to get out there and tackle their big dreams. And I know that's like what keeps us energized as well. And so I just wanted to mention that like these numbers are big, and there's going to be other big numbers throughout this call. And so if we can just kind of tag each number to like people we really know, I think it helps ground us. You can go to the next slide. So as many of you might remember, in 2022, we rolled out a new strategic plan, and our goal was to increase our annual reach by 4x, which meant measurably impacting 400,000 new youth by 2025. And so you may notice that I said measurably impacting, and I think this is the idea that the impact being measurable is really key to our strategy, and that the goal hinges on measuring our impact. Because we're youth first, impact obsessed, that's a cultural tenet of ours, because that's who we are as an organization, we are very particular about how we count youth impacted. So when we share the number, 400,000 youth that are measurably impacted, we're counting the number of youth we have reached in a single year with a product for which we have evidence of impact on important indicators like income, employment, or educational attainment. So this means we count youth who have been impacted by a product that has been or is being tested through an evaluation, such as a randomized control trial, rapid impact assessment evaluation. And that's really what we mean by measurable. So we don't want to simply count the number of youth engaged by any touch point in our total impacted numbers. We want to focus on how we've meaningfully shifted youth life outcomes, how much money they make, how many businesses they started, what education they've been able to do, meaningful impact on their lives as a result of the models that we deliver. And we think about a strategy, right? A strategy should make you different than other people or other organizations, right? And so this is one of the big things that makes Educate really different. And I know for me personally, and I know many of you share this, that's why you're here, that's why you work at Educate, is that difference really matters to all of us, to all of our work, and to know that like we are working really hard and all of that effort is going into creating real change. And so that focus on evidence of impact, when we talk about our strategic plan, that's such a big pillar of our strategy as Educate, of having that evidence and knowing that the work we're doing is really creating measurable impact. So over the years, we've been able to achieve incredible growth in the number of youth measurably impacted. In the first 10 years, we were able to reach 200,000 youth, and now we are on track to double this. Through 2022, we had measurably impacted 250,000 plus youth. So now, if we take a look at our impact in 2023, we've had a big jump thanks to our work in Rwanda. Yay, Rwanda! To scale up in all remaining secondary schools in the second half of last year, 2023. And so you can see that bar, right? I love that. That's the Boris 10 years ago would always draw this graph. He'd say, then it's going to be exponential. And here it is. We actually have it. We've done it, right? It's a huge jump, 2022 to 2023. And so now that we're reaching nationwide scale in Rwanda, we have impacted over 390,000 young people to date. To date, we have touched 390,000 young people with our program. And this is over 1,000x growth in youth impacted since we launched in Uganda, with roughly 300 youth is what we started with in 2009. And so I think that, yes, Merritt, that deserves celebratory emojis. So feel free to go crazy with your emojis in the chat. It's really exciting. It's a huge milestone for us as Educate. And it is the result of effort from every single person in this organization that we've been able to achieve this. Scaling our proven impact to more youth has always been a top priority, which now brings us to our product strategy. which now brings us to our product strategy. Yes. So one of the things that makes Educate a game-changing organization is what we call our product-led approach to building impactful models for young people. This means we are driven by building repeatable and highly scalable solutions to address youth challenges through continuous iteration, right? We like to iterate, like to see what happens and change it, right? Learning, continuous learning, experimenting, trying things out, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't work, and data-driven decision-making, looking at the data, right? What does the data say is the best way we should design this? We believe that a product-led approach is the only way to create that measurable impact. And we know a lot of people in our sector, in our field, right? They try to create impact, measurable impact, the first time they run a program, right? And they have all these great ideas and they take it to the communities and they take it to the youth. And then at the end of the day, it didn't create impact, right? And I think what makes Educate different and what I love so much about Educate is that we know it isn't easy to get that measurable impact, right? That people are complex. They don't do the things you think they're going to do. Communities are complex. Schools have a lot going on, right? And that it takes trial and error, that it takes testing, and it takes people that are learning and seeing what does it look like on the ground and how can we make changes, right? And that's the product approach. When we say product-led, that's the product approach, right? Intentionally taking the time to really figure out how do you get that measurable impact? And then once you put in all that effort, not just doing it one time, not just doing it for one payer, right? But saying, we want to repeat it. We want to repeat it and we want to scale it because it took a lot of work to solve that puzzle. And now we want to scale it and we want to bring it to as many people that we can. So our product strategy is to build scalable products that deliver the educates what we call our experience benchmark. And each of those products has our strategy is for each of those products to have a sustainable funder or a payer strategy that will ensure that we can deliver our models long-term, that we have the revenue to deliver the models long-term in a sustainable way. So this includes bringing long-term partners or sustainable funding mechanisms that can sustain our work for the next 10 plus years. So this product-led strategy underpins our work this year, and we want to use this time to bring everyone together and discuss the high-level goals in 2024 and over the next 3 years. So from this strategy, what does the work look like? And so that's what I'm going to now do. Turn it over to Charlotte Jones, our Chief Education and Innovation Officer, will tell us about how this strategy of being product-led and focusing on measurable impact, what that means under our school solutions and education system solution product lines.
Great. Thank you, Maggie. Hi, everybody. So let me start with school solutions. As we look at the future of this work, which is our longest running solution, I want to share 3 main objectives that we have that are guiding our work over the next 3 years and this year. So the first is to continue to deliver historic levels of youth impacts with EXP at scale. And that means we want to maintain and strengthen our impact in schools in Uganda. Secondly, we want to strategically experiment with how the EXP model can better align with the payer market and payer interests. And all of this is so we can have the funding to grow our impact in Uganda beyond 30,000 youth. And one of the ways that we're currently experimenting is having EXP serve as a research and development site, exploring how Educate can integrate a potential youth-led climate solution more explicitly into our work. Ollie and Emma, shortly, they're going to share more about a climate action experiment that's in the works. So I'm going to hold off and not say too much right here. And overall for EXP, we're confident that this is a solution that addresses youth challenges and delivers measurable impact. It's repeatable and highly scalable in the way that Maggie's just shared. At the same time, sometimes organizations' longest standing solution, like EXP for us, sometimes they can be the hardest to fund despite proven impact. So a key next step for us is determining how we can bring on board a long-term payer, as Maggie mentioned before. And now I'm going to move on to share an update on our work with governments and within education systems. So we have several key objectives that are guiding us in our systems change work over the next 3 years. Firstly, we will continue to run exchange in all remaining upper secondary schools in Rwanda. As we all know by now, we began this rollout in the second half of last year, and we'll see this through the 2-year exchange program until mid-2025. Secondly, we will strive to test and validate a handover of the ESS model to government in Rwanda, and that will include learning assessments, student business competitions, and potentially we'll look at a model to sustain teacher impact as well and our policy influence. These are all important pieces of our ESS work that will help us to sustain the impact of our work in the long term after we've completed the exchange model in all schools. As Boris shared on the last all hands call, and as the Rwanda leadership team has shared with the team, we are thinking about programming beyond when exchange ends. So we thought it might be worth quickly sharing again what the status is on that, as we've received a few questions from you. So as I mentioned, now that we've launched the exchange program in all schools, we've reached nationwide scale. And once we've completed all schools in 2025, we will no longer need to run the exchange program. We do plan to continue operations in Rwanda, including through the exchange follow-up program, and we'll continue to invest in our government partnerships as well. This year, 2024, we are working on having a plan for what comes next. We'll continue to provide as much information as we can when we do have it. We know that hearing this again, it doesn't answer all of your questions and address the uncertainty that many of you may be feeling. We are committed to building a clearer picture this year and communicating that with all of you. It is a priority. So in the meantime, Aisha is available to continue to take your questions, and she can be your first line of support. Let me move on to the third objective. For ESS, so over the next 3 years, we want to grow our impact even more ambitious through ESS. And so we're going to continue to build our ESS agenda in Tanzania and Kenya, focusing on introducing an employment-focused subject in both countries. And by 2026, we want to position Educate to launch exchange at scale in at least one new country. We're immensely grateful to the team in Kenya, you know who you are, for your perseverance despite all the government delays. And we're also really excited by the tremendous progress that the team in Tanzania has made over the last year in such a short amount of time. By working through education systems in all of the ways I've just shared, we know that we can impact many more youth than direct delivery alone. So I think government systems really are a great platform for our youth impact. And I'm really excited to work with you all to continue to build our ESS work as a central part of our goal of measurably impacting millions of youth across Africa each year. Let me pass over to Missy, our Chief Product Officer, and she's going to share our 3-year goals for our work with out-of-school youth. Missy.
Thanks, Charlotte. Maggie and Charlotte, you've had so much energy. Let me bring the same level. So thanks, Charlotte. As Maggie said, we are definitely having a lot of ambitious goals, and that still translates over to out-of-school youth. So we have big plans in work in both Kenya and Uganda. So right now, our main goal is to develop a portfolio of products targeting out-of-school youth that is aligned with sustainable payers who can fund the development and the scaling of the solutions. The goal is building repeatable, scalable models that deliver proven impact to young people while identifying a product fit so that programming can be a sustained long term. By the end of 2025, we have big ambitious goal, and one of that goal is to get ready to reach 20,000 youth. And for us to do that, there's 4 main things that we have to do as a team. One is to validate the core model that drives impact. 2 is to run at least 1 cycle of the bootcamp at an increased scale. 3 is move to at least 1 out-of-school youth product to the scale stage. And finally, 4, identify the product market fit between solving a key challenge for the youth and bringing on a sustainable pair, because what's unique about out of school youth is that we need both to be able to actually hit our product market fit. Our goal is to build a transformational model that can address out of school youth needs across the region. So by the end of 2026, we want to bring on at least 2 large-scale partners that enable us to eventually serve between 20 to 50,000 youth annually through our boot camps. There's also a lot of new exciting work beginning to be done right now. Last year, Boris slightly touched on it. Right now, we're working with FCDO as we're exploring our expansion into Malawi. So more to be shared during the course of the year as we continue with our all hands call. I'm eager to see what we were able to achieve this year. And I'm excited to be part of the team to bring this goal and exceed expectations on it. So I'll pass it back to you, Boris. Thanks.
Thank you, Missy. Thank you, Maggie. Thank you, Charlotte. I'm excited for the momentum that we've built into 2023 to carry into this year. Lots of big things ahead. I know everyone on this call is already playing a critical part in making these priorities possible. So with that, let's take a quick moment to pause and reflect on our product priorities. Feel free to drop a reaction or emoji in the chat if there is one that in particular that speaks to you. Great. So while we gather those, you've heard a bit about the work being done in Uganda from Charlotte. So next, I'll turn it over to some of our leaders, Emma Kalyebi and Ali Dalizu, who will share a more in-depth update. Emma and Ali, please go ahead.
Hey, my name is Oli, Product Strategist for School Solutions. Not so sure that Emma is on the call or not. Emma, are you on the call? Emma is our Director of Program Implementation, and I'm the Product Strategist for School Solutions. We're excited to share an update with the wider team today about the Educate experience in Uganda. Just as a refresher for those of you who are newer to the team or not as familiar with this side of our work, the Educate experience, commonly called EXP, this is actually Educate's first product. And the model sits under our school solution and has been delivered directly to secondary school students in Uganda for almost a decade now. Literally for over a decade, not almost. As we've grown and expanded our reach, the outcomes we've achieved through the EXP program have laid the foundation for scaling this impact through the education system and through our out-of-school youth boot camps. Today, we are looking forward to telling you a little bit more of what we've been focusing on lately and some plans for the future. In doing so, we'll be offering more insight into how we are continuously leveraging iteration to inform our product model design. Emma, are you still on the call?
Just confirm.
Emma, are you still there? All right, so as Emma still figures out...
all right, I think I'm about to...
okay, go ahead.
Oli, are you able to hear?
Yes, I can hear you. Are you good, or should I continue?
All right, thanks, Oli. So before I share, I think, a few updates from our work with EXP, it's important to just remind everyone that although we've been running EXP since 2009, continuing to experiment and test different hypotheses has been critical to ensuring that we are meeting the evolving needs of the youth and creating as much impact as possible. And this is very much related to our cultural tenets of youth first, always learning, and a startup mindset. And so with that in mind, we've recently been testing different hypotheses related to the time it takes youth to translate newly learned skills into impact and sustain that impact. So for example, we had a hypothesis that youth who are closer to the point of graduation, point of need, would benefit more from participating in EXP. And so in the last cycle in last year, we shifted to working with candidates, classes of youth who soon enter the workforce, including youth who are preparing to graduate and youth who are least likely to continue their education due to a history of either tuition or academic challenges. At the same time, we also wanted to scale EXP to 30,000 youth, which meant scaling up the number of youth who are serving within a school. So 80 youth per school, rather than 40 that we were working with before. And so testing these hypotheses led to some very valuable insights. For example, we learned that shifting the target demographic led to shortening the cycle from 3 terms to 2 terms. And this is because the last term of the academic year was needed for students to focus on exams. And targeting these later secondary classes also meant competing priorities among the students, especially with the academics. So additionally, this shorter timetable as well created pressure on the program delivery and led many schools to combine the 80 youth into 1 class. And this impacted the learning experience for the students, and as well as the ability for the mentors to effectively deliver the content. So as you can see, by testing these hypotheses, we are continuing to learn a lot about what drives impact and creates the best experiences for our youth, schools, and the mentors. So as a result of this learning, we are shifting our focus this year to working with non-candidate classes for a 3-term period, impacting 800 schools, over 30,000 youth, and in Uganda. And we feel very motivated by these learnings and are very eager to continue leveraging these new insights to drive new design decisions. And so I'll now pass it over back to Oli to just share more about the exciting experiment we are beginning in this current year in our next cycle for EXP.
Thank you, Emma. So as Emma has described, we are always testing new ways to improve our product model. During this academic year, we are going to be running a climate action experiment. The overall goal of this experiment, as Charlotte had mentioned, we are aligning with our product offering with climate action pair interest, and to build students' ability to be able to take measurable climate actions. Currently, we are at the early stage of discussing climate action project with a potential funder, known as Reach Out to Asia or ROTA. This is especially important as the global climate crisis continues to worsen. We feel addressing this issue is crucial for the future well-being and resilience of Uganda and its youth. The 2-term climate experiment is going to be targeting 36 schools in East and Central Uganda, where we are integrating climate change into our EXP skills course, aiming to improve youth climate literacy, encourage measurable climate actions, and enhance mentors' adaptability to new product features in our product. As of last week, Wednesday, we just had to complete our first mentor induction, which was a 2.5-week induction emphasizing adaptation to new climate action feature. And we are excited to share results from this experiment in the coming month that will inform the EXP and org-wide product strategy. Now, we know this is a quick update with a lot of information in it. Please feel free to reach out if you have any follow-up questions, and we'll be more than happy to walk you through what you need to know. Thank you so much for your time. Now I'll pass it back to you, Boris.
Thank you, Ali. I appreciate you sharing. Very exciting. And Ali and Emma, it's exciting to see all the progress that we've made and how intentionally we're really going about learning for how to build the best model for youth possible. So you've likely noticed that we've been highlighting one cultural tenet on the last few all hands calls. As we begin a new year, we want to continue this tradition and highlight one of the cultural tenets that serves as the backbone of our work. I'd like to invite Tobias Malupi to speak more about what the cultural tenet always learning means at Educate.
All right. Thank you so much, Boris. I hope everyone can hear me now. Testing.
Yep, we can hear you.
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can hear you.
Great. So thank you very much, Boris, for this opportunity for me to share. Hello, everyone. My name is Tobias Mulupi, Project Manager, Policy and Partnership, supporting TZ Expansion Team. And today I'm super happy to share what always learning tenet means to me. I've been with Educate since 2017, living this tenet. And to me, always learning means empowerment and growth in a safe space. Let me break it down. Empowerment means all the efforts we put in to find the best strategies, best tools, and best partners by which we can empower the youth to realize their potential. And through this process, we become empowered ourselves. And so, in a nutshell, our growth and empowerment are therefore inseparable from that of the youth. And we do this by listening to and prioritizing the youth voices and the insights from our teammates, our partners, and each one of them has something valuable to bring to the table. After all, we are one team with many views. However, the catch is this empowerment and growth process requires a very safe space. Always learning for me means that at E, we don't fail, we keep learning. And I'm lucky to have had leaders and mentors on my path who've modeled these tenets. Some of them on this call, I don't want to mention all of them for humility's sake. And these have provided a safe space for me and my team to experiment and learn from our mistakes. And I have felt forever obliged to create the same for my direct reports, my colleagues, our partners, even teachers, and especially the youth that I interact with on a daily basis. Now, let me share a story that makes me wake up every day re-energized. I crossed over from CSL to Nawiri Pro at a time when there were a lot of changes taking place in the organization. We had post CSL, and some of the team members from CSL had to cross over to Nawiri Pro. And in my new customer engagement role, my team and I reached a conversion of 4%. Missy, you shouldn't be listening to this. A conversion of 4% out of the target 40%. And myself and my team were so afraid that Missy will never extend our contracts the following year because we felt like we were only meant for programs like CSL and not for startups. We never imagined. However, to our surprise, during the end of the year sprint review, Missy was like, team, the fact that you converted 4% is a big success. Now let's focus on what worked and multiply that next year. For now, let's drop what did not work, but find out why it did not work and then document because those become our growth opportunities. And I think from there up to today, I always have a notebook with me and a pen with me. And many times in many meetings, I'm chosen to take the notes because it has become my hobby, wherever I am. So to cut a long story short, by choosing to celebrate our small success that day, it shifted how myself and my team perceived our work and demonstrated why change is surely a beautiful learning moment. Since then, I've seen a lot of change at Educate, and it has helped me to realize that evolving perspectives eventually contribute to personal and professional growth. And that's why since 2017, when I joined as a program officer, I've taken on different roles and projects. And lately, I'm also on climate change projects. We target to integrate this into our Educate products. And these are some of the things I never imagined I could. I have learned and grown alongside my team, and it's been greatly empowering. So I must say thank you, ESS team, Charlotte and the team, Diana, for holding my hand last year and for what we achieved together and what we want to achieve next year. So in conclusion, living this tenet, always learning tenet, is not just a personal commitment, it's a collective effort worth celebrating, however small it is. And it's so unimaginable the impact we can pass on to the youth as a team dedicated to empowerment and growth in a safe space. Thank you, everyone. And with that, I want to pass it back to Boris.
Thank you, Tobias. Thank you for that inspiring story and a great share. So we've got about 5 minutes. As always, we'll wrap with some Ask Boris Anything questions. We'll get through as many as possible and save more for others. But please continue to submit them. So some of these are actually left over from before. So the first is, what would you say is our current biggest strength as an organization at the moment? And so I'd say this is a good question. I think our biggest strength and competitive advantage is our deep commitment to learning and our drive to be product-led. So I think it's this cultural tenet that Tobias just spoke to so well. I think the way we work really enables us not to only build scalable products, but products for youth that are more closely aligned and relevant to the needs of young people, which is why we do what we do in the first place. I think it means that we really change and react a lot and adjust quickly, which can be hard. But I think working in this way, ultimately means that we're finding, well, working in this way is hard. It creates lots of challenges, but I think this ability to remain agile and nimble is what the greatest enduring advantage of any organization. And I think this is something that we've been working to build for years, and is very core to our DNA. I think none of this would be possible without an incredibly dedicated team who leads with a youth-first mindset and isn't afraid to continuously test, always learning from mistakes and pushing boundaries along the way. Next question we have, in what ways do I foresee Educate evolving or expanding in the years to come? As you know, we have big plans for the next few years. As I've mentioned, there's great potential for growth with our out-of-school youth boot camps as we continue to validate our model and find fit with the development market. We're also seeing expansion ESS, lots of opportunity in Tanzania, as an example, which I just saw myself, including pursuing an important reform in Kenya and thinking about how we might be able to leverage the policy and system change capabilities we have to address other systems challenges. At the same time, I think we're looking how we continually evolve our products, like the Educate experience, to strengthen impact and be really relevant in the market today. I think one thing you'll notice about our goals for the coming year is that they encompass both building our capacity to build new products and scaling our evidence. I really believe to be a game-changing organization as we aspire. Both of these competencies are critical. We need to be able to operate at big scale, which is the only way to get to millions of youth measurably impacted, and we need to be able to create new and breakthrough innovations for youth. Next question, I've got 2 more minutes, is on fundraising. What are donors majorly concerned about when giving to nonprofits like Educate? Should note we consider ourselves a nonprofit social enterprise. And how has the donor skepticism affected our fundraising efforts? I'd say overall, I don't think donor skepticism is affecting our fundraising efforts. There'll always be some, but it's not a big factor. For Educate, in our first 10 years, we really partnered with values-aligned foundations who invested in us as an organization and the impact we have. I think we continue to partner with foundations who care about impact and care about our potential growth and impact. However, in addition, as we've grown over the past several years, we've turned our attention to large institutional payers in the space who can provide, are interested in large-scale multi-year deals that can finance our work at a very big scale. I call these actors payers, not donors, because they're not donating to us, but are generally looking for us to deliver a service based off their own needs. We do that in a way that maximizes impact on youth. And for these institutional payers, meeting their internal requirements is most important. So with that, I'm going to wrap. Thank you, everyone. We'll share a survey in the chat. Please fill it out. Thank you for all your attention and all the people that joined. Special thanks to Maggie, Charlotte, Missy, Emma, Ollie, and Tobias for participating. I hope everyone has a great rest of your week. And as always, please come off mute to say goodbye.
Bye.
Thanks,
Bye.
everybody.
Bye.
Everyone. Bye.
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 Goodbye. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye, everyone.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Hey. Bye. Bye-bye.